Welcome to the Business Performance Podcast, where we feature expert thought leaders and cover their best strategies, stories, and advice that you can use to successfully mature your own business performance. Now, here is your host, business coach Henry Schneider. Hello, everyone. This is Henry Schneider with the Business Performance Podcast, and today it's my pleasure to speak with Manuj Aggarwal of Tetramoodle Technologies. So, Manuj, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so first off, your company name is very intriguing. How did you come up with the name Tetramoodle?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm not very creative with these kind of things. So one day I was just sitting with my friends at a restaurant trying to figure out what should be the name, and the restaurant's name is Noodle Box. So we used to go there very frequently, and it used to be our favorite lunch spot. So I said, okay, why don't we use something related to this restaurant? So my friend said, you're not opening a Chinese restaurant, you're opening a software company. So then I said, okay, we'll just play around with it. So instead of the noodle box, I just took the four corners of the box and came up with the Tetra. So that's how it came about.
Oh, well, cool. Okay, so you've been in business now, this Tetramoodle, for about 20 years. So can you briefly describe Tetramoodle and your customers and the types of service you provide?
Yeah, so entrepreneurs. My background is technology. So when we started, we worked a lot with tech startups, tech projects. But now I work with any entrepreneur because every business needs technology. Most of the things are moving virtual now, especially with the coronavirus environment. So any kind of entrepreneur who wants to start a business or grow their business, we help them with that.
Okay. So where is your customer base focused? Is it in Vancouver, or are you kind of international, or what?
Yeah, it's mostly international, but since I'm in North America, and obviously US is the biggest economy, we tend to focus more on North America. But there are, like, I have worked on projects which were spread across multiple continents. We had teams in Europe, India, US. So it all depends on the scale of the project and where the client wants their team to be set up. So
All right. So
mostly they tend to be North America for sure.
okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So I always ask my guests about the word quality. Quality is a very broad term and lots of definitions. So what does the word quality mean to you and your clients?
See, quality, I think, is very subjective, but in my opinion, as long as the product or service meets the majority of your client's criteria, and it is above your own criteria for what the quality of a product should be. Like, if you are not going to consume a product or service with that kind of quality, then I don't think you should be selling that product or service. I see many entrepreneurs, they have higher standards for themselves, but when it comes to providing a client their product or service, their quality standards are lower just because they want to cost, whatever the reason is, right? So in my opinion, first criteria is that it must meet your own standards, and the second is it must meet most of your client standard as well, because again, a lot of people just talk to a few prominent clients and then they ignore the rest, whereas the quality is talked about, and the brand is affected by the majority of the people that know about your product or service, right?
Okay. Now, when you talk to clients, I mean, there's a lot of times the customer or the client really doesn't have a good idea of what they want, and so they can't really articulate. So how do you draw that information out of them so they can provide what they need?
Yeah, I mean, it's more about understanding what are the challenges they are facing, right? As humans, no matter where we live, no matter what kind of business we are in, at the end of the day, we all have similar way of thinking. So we are trying to figure out, okay, this is the next problem I want to solve. I want to raise money. I want to hire a COO. I want to find office space, whatever that is. these are typical problems that entrepreneurs face. And so given where they are, we ask them, hey, what is your problem that you're facing? And then go a little bit deeper into that, because a lot of the times people think that is the main problem they are facing. But for example, let's say if somebody is looking to raise money, that is a typical problem entrepreneurs face. All the time, I just need to raise some money. But when I talk to them, like, what do you want to do with that money? Do you know, like, you can do this without raising money, and these are the resources that are already available to you. So when we look at their business, sometimes those problems are non-existent. So it's about just opening that dialogue, go a little bit deeper, understanding what their objectives are, and then figuring out exactly where the gap is between where they want to be and where they are right now.
So when you're working with entrepreneurs, a lot of times they don't have a whole lot of money. So are you working with like pre-seed companies, or are you working for equity, or are you charging them? How does that work?
Yeah, I I don't work with for equity, because one thing I realized very early on, when you start a startup, the equity is pretty much zero, because no matter what the entrepreneur says, the company is not going to sell for anything more than zero. And even if you get a 50% cut off that zero, is still zero. So a lot of people approach me about working with them on equity basis, but I don't work on equity basis. So it's either consulting or some sort of other arrangement where they have something to invest, because you don't need a lot to start a business or to get advice, but you need to have something. If people get everything for free, they don't really value any of that stuff. So that's the way that I work.
Sure. So so where in the life cycle then are you looking? I mean, are you or do they have, are you looking with the entrepreneurs that have already started with a product and they're selling it, or are they still in the formation stage?
So, I've been in this space for 20, 25 years. I've worked with entrepreneurs who brought an idea on the back of a paper napkin. And I've worked with projects within Microsoft, which had $100 million budget. I've worked with startups which were almost about to go under even after raising tens of millions of dollars. So at every stage, there are different types of problems to be solved. But I've had fortunate uh, incidents where I've put my hands in various companies in various stages of their lifetime. So I have a broad range of experience, and what goes wrong typically at what stage. Well, we help them wherever they are, in whatever stage they are.
So how did you build up your credibility to so the entrepreneurs would use you? I mean, 20 years ago you didn't have it. So how did you get to that?
Um, I mean, I wish I had a very easy answer, but initially when I started off, it was very difficult. Like it's almost like you have to knock on doors, you have to talk to a lot of people, and that process never stops, no matter how how popular you are or how well known you are. But basically, initially, it was more like just grinding and making sure that we have some connections, and showing them what you can do. And after that, making sure once you get a first client, making sure you do such a good job that you can use them as a referral to get a second client, and the second client you can get a third client, like that.
Yeah.
So that's how it worked out for me. But then a few years ago, it was all through word of mouth, and it was a small business, and it was everything was fine. But then I said, okay, I think it's time to now uh, increase the business size and get more clients. And that's when you really need to now venture out and explore new marketing strategies, new sales strategies. And that's the thing which I had no idea about, and I'm still learning. But through that process of showing up and putting yourself out there, publishing a lot of content, sharing some of your ideas for free so that people can understand this is what we can do for the clients and all that. So that really helps. But I wish there was a easier way, and has their own way, and it's a long journey to be known for what you're doing.
Okay. So how many people do you have now with Tetramoodle? What's your size?
Oh, it's a very small company. So my permanent employee count is 6.
Oh,
But we have partnerships with a lot of partners. So what we do, we find a customer, we build custom bespoke solutions for clients. So whatever they need, we bring in the right type of partners, right type of consultants to build that uh, solution for them. And also we work with the client's team. So many clients, they already have their own teams. So we work with their team to uh, build the solution, streamline the solution, optimize whatever is needed within their business. So we those just so that we can provide a very cost effective and efficient service to the clients as well.
all right. Okay, so whoa, we've got some noise there. Okay, what are one or two of the biggest misconceptions that you face there with when it comes to quality and performance?
Quality, okay, so misconceptions is that this is coming from a tech startup experience. Everybody wants to be Apple. So when they think of a product, they think, okay, I want to build iPhone, nothing less than that. And they spend a lot of money and resources just polishing their product, realizing that the first computer that Apple brought into the world in 1975 was built on a wood, like just a wood piece of wood, and there was no cover, there was no mouse, or no nothing. So $1 company, and not realizing when they were a startup, they did things very, very differently. So that is one misconception, that you need to be very scrappy, you need to validate your ideas before you put in a whole bunch of money and time into a product. Quality. What was the second part?
Oh, just about, business performance.
Yeah, performance. Again, people think, again, uh, uh, from my experience in tech industry, they look at Facebook and say, we don't need to make money as long as we get eyeballs on our product, and eventually somebody will buy us out. So they're not interested in selling. They're only interested in raising money and then exiting. That's it. But they don't realize that between those two steps are the main things that makes business valuable. But they tend to ignore all that.
Yeah. So have you read Eric Ries and the Lean Startup?
Yeah, lean startup is one way. Like from my philosophy is always bootstrapping. So my because I've seen so many startups go through several rounds of funding, and each round of funding dilutes the equity for the founders.
Mm-hmm.
And moreover, the founders are always just focused on raising capital. That's it.
Yeah.
Whereas it's a full-time job. So what I found is a CEO can either focus on raising money or running a company. They cannot do both.
Mm-hmm.
So in bootstrapping, what I have seen is, like, you have limited resources, so you get really, really focused, and you really focus on what is important: your customer, your product, and bringing in sales. And that's the way that I look at things. When you bootstrap, you do naturally have to get really, really lean. So that's where I start. Like, if you have a lot of money, it's kind of hard to stay lean, because we are in our human nature, we want to splurge and spend some money, especially if it's not ours.
Yeah. Yeah. Your need expands until it consumes everything.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay. What's the biggest challenge that Tetramoodle faces with business performance?
Yeah. So as I said, marketing and sales didn't come easily to me because of my tech background. And it for me, it was always like, if you do good work, then you don't need marketing. That used to be my misconception. But then slowly I realized, even if you have the best product or service, it's not going to sell if nobody knows about it, if nobody has heard of your name or whatever. So marketing is very important. And then I used to think that marketing and sales are sort of interchangeable. So now I understand, the differences, and how each one of them complements each other, and how the customer flows from one aspect to another. So those are some of the challenges I'm still going through, because it's a never ending process. You learn continue to improve, and that's what my challenge is.
Yeah. Yeah, and in sales and marketing, that is usually the same word, but it's a different skill set.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, for marketing, you've got to be able to be really good with language and kind of
Yeah.
distill things down and simplify it to get people to understand.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
that's a really tough thing to do because I'm no good at that myself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a challenge to get into the heads of the customers, especially if you don't know exactly what they want. As you said, sometimes they don't know what they want, but then you need to really distill down their thoughts and then put them on paper. So I totally concur. Like, it's not an easy job at all.
Yeah. Okay. So what are some of the perceived obstacles that you see that might be preventing you from achieving the success that you're looking for, besides sales and marketing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are so many external factors you have to deal with, economy being one. So, we are going through a global pandemic. And uh, so in this situation, a lot of businesses, a lot of individuals are tightening their pockets. At the same time, the problems they are facing right now are totally different than what it used to be 3 months ago. So you really almost need to, rethink a lot of these things. What are the new problems people are going to solve, to have, and what are the solutions that will work within the constraints that have been put on us, right? So social distancing, masks, not going to the office. So we have to take that into account, because even though things they may shut down as soon as they opened up, because you never know how this thing is going to turn out. So there's a lot of uncertainty, and through this uncertainty you need to figure out, okay, how do you rebuild a business and flourish through this period, right?
Okay. All right. So could you please share a story of how you helped one of your clients to overcome all these obstacles and be successful?
Yeah, sure. So one of the clients that came to me, they were in custom wearable products, and one of the marketing tactics they used was to launch a Kickstarter campaign.
Mm.
Kickstarter, if people know, like, it's a way to pre-sell the product before it's ready. So they had a very successful pre-sell campaign. They raised about $250,000. The problem is that their technology was not built at all, and they were not able to deliver products. So now they have 5,000 customers who have paid
Yeah.
decent money for their product and service, but they are not able to deliver the product or service. So they were on the verge of like figuring out, okay, do I return the money,
Mm.
or what do I do? Because if they return the money, then it would have been really detrimental to their reputation. Um, so uh, so when I looked at that, I just looked at what components were working and what components were not working. So I salvaged the things that were working, and then added a couple of team members to do some manual steps and get the whole assembly line going. It was not perfect, but at least we were able to fulfill the orders within 3 months, and that saved the company a whole bunch of reputation loss, and actually injected the cash into the company, which was able to now take on new project, new product, and went on to become a successful company.
Okay. All right. So if you could distill that down to like 25 words or less, what would be the moral of the story?
So focus on the product delivery, not on shiny objects.
Yeah. Yeah. Focus on the donut, not the hole, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are some of the common pitfalls? I think you've been kind of hitting on that, but some of the common pitfalls that you see people encountering as they try to, handle the entrepreneurial landscape.
So one key thing is consistency. So I find a lot of entrepreneurs, first of all, they are not clear on what they want exactly. If you ask them, their goal is to make money, and that's about it. And they don't even know how much money they want. Lots of money.
Mm.
And what they want to do with that money, no idea. How they want to make that money, no idea. If people get started with a company, they have no specific goal in mind. They don't have a customer avatar in mind. um, and what this causes is causes a whole bunch of churn, because as we know, entrepreneurship is not an easy task. So it seldom happens that you come up with an idea and it takes off and you become a millionaire overnight. In most cases, 90% of your efforts will fail and only 2% will succeed. And so people, they try something for 2-3 months. Obviously they don't find success, and then they switch. They try for next 3 2 3 months to do something else, and then they switch. So if we don't stay consistent, you are basically throwing away all the work you have accumulated on a particular path that you're going on. So do, and then get consistent, because the challenges are going to be there. If you stay consistent and continue to just grind through them, then eventually you get there.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like the same thing when you look at the lean startup with Eric Ries is saying you got to keep your mind on the goal.
Yeah.
Keep trying things, iterate, but always keep it focused on that, and you'll eventually get there. Yeah. But you can't keep polishing the rock. You got to take some risk.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so now, well, let's say, okay, so let's talk about your backstory. It's very interesting how you got to where you are today. So can you talk about what defining moment occurred in your life to become such a fan or have this passion for entrepreneurs?
Sure. Yeah. So I started my. Could you repeat the question? Sorry.
Yeah.
Last part. I didn't get the last part.
Yeah. So just what happened in your life that was an epiphany that set you up to be where you are today?
Yeah. So I started my career working in a factory. I was 15 years of age, and this was in India, a third world country. So it was quite a challenging start of my career. And one day I was just sort of flipping through some business magazines at lunchtime while working in the factory, and I saw these stories of these really highly successful people, and how they were able to turn around their lives. And that sort of inspired me, that when I looked at that, and I thought to myself, these people are not any more special than I am. So that was sort of the turning point. Even though at that point in time I didn't realize it, because I just flipped through the magazines and I said, oh, it'll be wonderful to be close to these people someday. And then obviously lunchtime was over and I was back to work. But that was sort of the trigger point, I guess, if I were to trace it back.
Okay. So now, so you've been here, like in Canada, for 20 years. So that must have been pretty much of a culture shock to move from India to Canada. How did you handle that?
Yeah, I mean, culture shock was that's an understatement. Luckily, I was able to speak the language. So the language, I did not have to struggle a lot language wise, but the customs and the some of the subtle meanings of phrases and the slang, it used to just fly over my head. And I used to sit in a meeting, and people will be making a joke and they were being sarcastic, and I used to take it seriously. I'm like, so it's all these like cultural small challenges that I had to work through. And eventually I started watching a lot of movies and dramas to understand the culture. How do they communicate? What does that all mean? When they say this word or phrase, what does that mean really? So it took a while, but now I think I'm better at it.
Okay. All right. So, in a similar vein, can you share an experience you had growing up that influences how you approach business today?
Yeah. So for me, there was one defining. This was like seven. I was 7 or 8, and my dad sent me, or my mom sent me to the store to get something, and they gave me 20 rupees, which is like 25 cents, almost 25 cents. And I lost it. I lost the money and I didn't get the stuff that I was supposed to get. So I got in big trouble for that. And that stuck with me, never to lose money. So, that's like, if you have money, you need to make sure you don't waste it, you don't lose it, you preserve it, and you spend it on the right thing. So that's something that, that sort of continues into my bootstrapping journey as well.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that was a bitter lesson to learn too.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so what does success look like for Manuj Aggarwal?
Success for me is like, one thing I always tell people is to become more self-aware, to understand what exactly you want. People have these goals which are very vague, as I mentioned earlier. They just want to make money, and they don't know what they exactly want to do with that money. So for me, a few of my passions are my family. I like to travel. I like to learn a lot. So success for me will be, if I have really good relationships with my family, I'm able to help people achieve their goals, and I'm able to travel the world. That's one of my dreams, to travel the world. I mean, I've been to many countries, but I would love to visit, all the countries in the world. And yeah, I mean, helping people achieve their goals, achieve their dreams, because I find that a lot of people just give up and not even start, thinking that they don't have what it takes. But if they just, sort of become a little bit more self-aware, and just put in a little bit more effort, and look at what resources they have available rather than looking at what they don't have, they can achieve big things.
Cool. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about COVID-19. So how has COVID-19 affected your business?
Yeah, so COVID-19, as I said, I used to work with a lot of tech startups, and tech startup industry is very sensitive to the economy. When the economy is booming, venture capital flows like water, and you can, launch new crazy ideas and see what works. Now, obviously, capital has dried up, and people are much more cautious. So we had to pivot from just focusing on tech startups to entrepreneurs in general, because now, even brick and mortar stores who were very successful, they have to reinvent themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Even people who are speakers, earning a very decent income, speaking on very big stages, they have to rethink their business model. So the same principles that apply in the tech startup world apply in any entrepreneurial work as well. So we
Yeah.
are sort of, shifting our focus from tech startups into entrepreneurship.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense because, there's a lot of mom and pop stores that had to shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And if they weren't, like even restaurants, if they were not offering takeout,
Yeah.
they've been closed, they're going to have a really difficult time restarting.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of things will move virtual. A lot of people have been away from technology deliberately, because they thought, they don't need to really learn technology. But this coronavirus, I think, is going to force us to get into the virtual world, and have these kind of Zoom interactions and whatnot. So a lot of learning and relearning needs to happen for a lot of people, and that's where we can help people to reinvent themselves.
Yeah, that brings up an interesting topic too, because this is an optimal time to really do digital, I have the word transformation, but disruption, and really automate a lot of things. So, in terms of artificial intelligence and machine learning or robots, etc. So what are you seeing are people receptive to those types of ideas?
See, whether they're receptive or not, technology doesn't wait for such big shifts in technology. They don't wait, because whether we like it or not, AI is being used right now, right here. It's in our phones, it's in our televisions, it is in everywhere. That chatbots, this Zoom, I'm sure they are capturing some data, analyzing it based on their own algorithms. So whether we like it or not, machine learning, AI, it's everywhere, around us. And this coronavirus is only going to accelerate the adoption. So since we are not able to work together in close proximity, and who knows how long this will last, so we have to look at automation. We have to look at how we can deploy machines to do the work safely, rather than getting humans in a tightly closed spaces. So this is going to continue to accelerate now.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. And there is, we have become accustomed to a lot of it from a marketing perspective because of the targeted ads you get when you open up like YouTube or Facebook, etc. But going into other areas where it's not so obvious is maybe somewhat daunting to your customers.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have been, I've been fascinated with machine learning. I have 4 patents in artificial intelligence and machine learning. So I have done some really cool work, but the kind of work it can do, it has even blown away my mind. Like it can, even today, this is about, a couple of years ago, we built a product to scan human anatomy, like parts of body, and take exact measurements. And so the machine learning, artificial intelligence algorithms we built, they were performing better than trained doctors and medical staff. So it just blew my mind away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. So what are you doing now when when you're talking with people and your clients? How do you make certain that they're fully engaged with what you're trying to communicate? Because you can't be physically present with them.
Yeah. So as humans, we have a tendency to think what we are thinking is important, and we generally just keep talking about that, whereas if we just try to listen to the clients and understand what is important to them, and we talk about that, then the clients are automatically engaged, because who doesn't want to talk about the things that they are interested in. So in my technology work, earlier on I used to talk about technology, how cool this technology is, how powerful this technology is, and it was not engaging at all, because it was cool to me, but the clients only cared about what is the problem they are trying to solve. So as I started to learn all these subtleties, then I started talking about their problems, how their customer base will be increased, how their revenue will be affected, and all those things. And so when you talk about these things and then tie it back to the work you are doing, they are automatically engaged, because those are the important things to them, right?
Definitely. So, what are you doing now for planning to return to somewhat normal operations? Are you considering that at this point?
See, for me, I have a different perspective on things, because I have spent all this time in technology field, and I used to work with remote teams since 2005. So I've gone through this journey already. So I just know that whatever happens with the virus or the vaccines or whatever, the economy and the human behavior has been cemented, for the next foreseeable future. Human mind takes about 21 days to form a habit, and we have all been indoors locked in for months. So even if there is a pent up demand to go out there, the human mind works in a way that it finds everything familiar more secure. So I do not think this venturing out will be it will sort of shrink after the first pent up demand is catered to, and then most of the stuff will start to move virtual. That's what I think. And that is with my background in technology and all that, and the way I know how humans behave after such an event.
Yeah. Now, another thing that's interesting that's occurring is that a lot of executives are saying there's much more communication with people now than in the past, because when you're working in the office, you're in your office and people don't interrupt you. But now, because we're forced into social interactions through the computer, there's more communication.
Exactly. And there are economic reasons as well, because if you see commercial real estate, business flights, all these things are out of the equation, but they used to be very, very big ticket items in the budgets of companies. And so now you can see the budgets are going to be reduced, but that means it's going to affect all these industries at scale. Commercial real estate, I don't even know, like, who's going to buy commercial real estate anymore, right?
Right.
So when that unfolds, I don't know effect is it going to have on other aspects of the economy as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's probably a good area for you to get involved with too, because the commercial real estate owners have to rethink their whole business model, because companies are saying, well, we're not going to move. We don't need all that office space.
Exactly. So how it will unfold, it's anybody's guess, but we can see some signs of what is going to happen over the next 2-3 years, irrespective of how the virus behaves.
Mhm. So have you heard anything about have people offering a COVID-19 discount?
Oh yeah. There have been all kinds of things that are going on: discounts, surcharges, taxes, COVID-19 tax, COVID-19 surcharge, or COVID-19 discount. People are, the thing is, one thing about marketing, when you realize, is if everybody is talking about something, you want to latch on to that because you want to become a part of the conversation, and from that conversation you can take that conversation back to your product or service, but you really want to start the conversation what people are talking about. So hence everything is being branded COVID-19 now, because everybody's talking about COVID-19.
Yeah, and it's interesting, in a service business like what you do, you probably don't offer a discount. But if you're like in a supply chain with raw materials, then everybody's in the same boat. So you want to reduce the cost to get the restart, and you can bring things back up.
Exactly.
Okay, so now from you as the executive of Tetramoodle, what are your top 3 business concerns that keep you awake at night?
Well, first is my team. If they are safe, and if they have all the resources that they need to be able to execute on the vision. My customers and clients, they are safe and they are able to move forward with their plans. And then everything else, meaning the economy, the operations, the internal working of our team, the clarity that we need, because there's so much uncertainty right now. So we may be totally working in an opposite direction of where we need to be going, right? So we will only figure that out whether we are a success or not in when the results show up in 6 months. But until then, we just gotta sort of feel our way, almost like in a pitch dark situation, and sort of walk towards the goal. So those are some of the challenges that I think everybody faces right now.
Okay. All right. So there's a lot of players in your space as working with entrepreneurs. So what's the most important question the entrepreneurs should be asking when they consider coming to you?
Well, first of all, they should ask what have you done in the past. They should look at their past performance, so that they can get a good clue about what will happen to their business when they work with somebody like me. So I've seen a lot of coaches who have not delivered anything, but they're coaching other people. I've seen people not going to Ivy League college, but they're coaching other people on how to get into Ivy League college. I've seen people who have no business, no relationship, and they are relationship coaches. So it's like, you have to really understand, if you're looking for help from somebody, what have they done in the past, and how successful have they been in helping others. And that is one of the fundamental things you got to look at.
So this brings up an interesting topic here too. So when you are working with a client and you're successful, do you know why you were successful, or did it just happen that way?
It's all about execution. So a lot of people have ideas, as you said. The focus on the goal is easier said than done, because along the way there are so many distractions that come. There are challenges which are negative, sort of mishaps that happen along the way, and on the positive side, there are new opportunities that show up. And then if you are a person who is easily distracted, then you start to get into this mode of looking at every opportunity and losing focus, right? So both on the positive side and on the negative side, you have to be really focused, expect the unexpected, and just get focused on the goal and keep going, keep going, keep going. And that's something that I think very is important.
So when you finish an engagement with a client, do you sit back and do a retrospective to look at what worked, what didn't work, and what
Yeah,
you
yeah.
were successful?
Yeah, so generally in the software world, we do that every week or every 2 weeks. So we never let that this exercise of reviewing our own performance go any longer than 2 weeks, because in the software world, if we continue to go in the wrong direction, it costs a huge amount of money to come back. I mean, that's true for any business, but in software as well, it's really really tough. So. In the methodology we use, like we know what we are going to do in the next week or so, and once that milestone is reached, we actually sit down with the team and we say, okay, what happened, did we produce what we were supposed to produce, and what worked, what didn't work, so that we can incorporate that learning right away in the next week. And so as we are going through the project, we improve ourselves, we get more aligned, and so that's a good experience. And I think this methodology can be applied in other businesses as well. Unfortunately, it is not, but in the software world, it is quite entrenched now.
Okay. Yes. All right. So now, this is kind of more of a retrospective question. If you had to start Tetramoodle all over again from scratch today, what would you do different than when you started 20 years ago? What would you do the same?
I will focus on marketing first. I will first, I never marketed myself. I never marketed the company. And that was a huge mistake. So I will start with uh, let's not say I will start with marketing first. I will say I will put a huge amount of emphasis on marketing. And what I will do the same is just focus on quality and results. So that I won't change, because that has been my sort of, shield to protect me from multiple sort of economic crisis, like dot-com bubble that burst, and then 2008 crash. I managed to survive through that just because of my emphasis on results and quality.
Okay. All right. And that brings up another interesting thing. So what, from your perspective, from Tetramoodle, what are your essential services that cannot be interrupted without negatively affecting your business?
In my own business or any general business in
In
general?
your business.
So we rely on infrastructure. Internet connectivity is number one, because nothing happens without that. And as we know, even during this interview, we had a couple of free frozen screens and whatnot, and that's because the bandwidth requirements have been going up. Everybody's locked in, and so we need to really optimize and understand where are the customers located. Do we have enough bandwidth? We have backup systems, because if something fails, we cannot go down for even an hour, or because you lose the credibility. Like if a customer shows up, you have 3 seconds to impress them. So those are some critical things we need to make sure that nothing goes down. And then on top of that, if you have your systems, whether they are manual systems or technology systems, they have to be reliable, repeatable. If we just say, oh, it works 50% of the time, that's not a business, because that you're saying that if a customer shows up at your door, they can flip a coin and see whether they get a good experience or a bad experience, right? So that's not a good scalable business way of doing things. So you really gotta really tighten your systems, make sure they are reliable every time they produce the same results.
Yes, very good. Okay, Manuj, thank you so much. We're rapidly running out of time, so I want to respect your evening for you. So how can people get in touch with you to learn more?
Yeah, they can connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search my name. I'm fairly active on LinkedIn, and we are also running a weekly contest. I have an interesting story, my entrepreneurial journey. So we are giving away a piece of that journey as a weekly prize to whoever wants to enter. They can go to spicewin.com and enter. So it's again spice as the word spice, win.com, and register there and win something.
Okay, so is that like a video? Did they get this?
No, so the story is that I made some really good contacts with really high profile people some tech billionaires, movie industry, and all that. And the way that I was able to do that is by building some relationships. And one of those relationships started by me gifting a box of Indian spice to a high-profile celebrity. So that became a full story in itself. So now I'm giving away one box of spice as part of that journey.
Yeah, are you putting a caution on it to use it in small amounts?
Well, this is like a tangy, sour, sweet and sour flavor. So it's not like hot, but you can add it to anything. It's like a salad dressing almost, like, so you can sprinkle it on anything and enjoy the Indian flavor.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, I was in Kolkata a couple of years ago, and my son said, bring back some spices. So I got some spice in the grocery store, and I gave it to him. I said, be very careful. And he wasn't paying attention. He wanted to make chili one night. He dumped it all in. He couldn't eat it.
Yeah. No, that's dangerous. Yeah.
Okay, so Manuj, it's been wonderful chatting with you today. I really enjoyed talking with you, and thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Business Performance Podcast with your business coach, Henry Schneider. For more episodes and business strategies, please visit welcome.ppqc.net/blog. That's www.welcome.ppqc.net/blog. And remember to subscribe so you can get the latest episodes. Thank you.